It's recording. Good. All right. So today I have the honor of having two old friends that grew up with my son, Brianna Behm, who is at the University of South Carolina and plays for the women's team down there, and Sofie Fox, who is in her first year at Northeastern, but played 4 years, right, at Georgetown. Two major programs in the country. You guys, I'm sure, have plenty of stories to tell of what that's like. So maybe we just start from the beginning. When I'm looking at my screen, Brianna's first, so I'm always going to ask her first. Sorry, Sofie.
No, perfect.
Because that's the way I read, you know. And then actually no, I won't do that because then that's kind of like cheating. So you gotta mix up the order. But anyway, Brianna, tell us about growing up and when you decided that you were going to play college soccer and what it was and walk us through that process for as much as you can remember anyway.
Yeah. I think the first moment I realized I could play college soccer was I was actually at practice at Legacy on the first turf field. I remember everything. And I remember Kelvin Jones came over to me and was like, I need to talk to you after practice. I was like, I think I was in sixth grade, seventh grade. And he had told me George Mason was interested in me. And I was like a college? I just started middle school. And it was just that's when I realized wow, I can actually play soccer, but for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to play in college and after college. So that was
Yeah,
a cool first moment for me of wow, I can actually do that.
right. I mean, did you even really know what? I mean, you knew what college was, but
Yeah.
do you have any concept of what?
I didn't know to the extent big colleges, small colleges. I had no clue how many colleges there were too, and
Right,
what it was about just to play soccer at a school. So
right.
that's cool.
What about you, Sofie?
Feel like I always knew I wanted to play, but when I was little, I would always go to William Mary soccer camps. I don't know if you ever did that, Bree. That might have been before you moved here.
I
But
never went to that's I've
I
never
would go
went
with
to.
Kylie. But I would go to the week long summer camps every year, and I was like, this is it. I'm gonna play soccer at William Mary. I'm gonna live in my grandma's basement with my cousins, and we're all gonna go to William Mary. Perfect. But then I obviously didn't end up going there. It would be kind of a lot to go to school in the same place I grew up, I think, and wanted to branch past that, but I definitely always knew that I wanted to.
Do
Yeah,
you ever have a dream school? I always wanted to go to Florida State was my school. Oh,
Well, I
I'm
wanted
going.
it was William and Mary until um later on I was pretty into UVA, but that it was never that. It was mostly William and Mary when I was little.
so did you get recruited by William Mary?
Yeah, I did, but I just didn't get that far in the process with them because I just knew I didn't want to go there once I actually got to the age where I was thinking about school seriously.
Yeah. So, all right, Sofie, what grade were you in when you first started having serious conversations with college coaches or
Probably
contacts, I guess?
freshman year, I would start going to ID camps and stuff, at, actively trying to get recruited and talking to coaches. And then I didn't go on visits until actually it was probably the end of freshman year I started going on visits. And then it was kind of I think it was the summer between freshman and sophomore year. I went to a Georgetown ID camp, which I didn't even I only went because someone else on my team was going and they wanted someone to go with them. I hadn't really looked at Georgetown that much. And then after that ID camp, I did well, and I remember Kelvin, our coach that we both had, texted me and was like, "So do you want to go to Georgetown?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I kind of really pigeonholed. I went on a couple more visits after that, but I was just once I knew that was in the works, I was pretty focused on Georgetown, and I committed I think February of my sophomore year, so it moves pretty quickly after that.
Huh. What about you, Brianna?
So South Carolina was actually my first or second after George Mason people to like reach out to me. I think it was like end of my 8th grade. They emailed maybe Kelvin also. And I just remember like, oh, like I've never even heard of it. And I told Kat Dominguez, actually, like my good friend now, and she was like, oh, like I've heard of their program, like really good program, really nice stadium. So I was like, oh, then I'm interested. And but I never really contacted them back. I like put it to the side until like I got older, and then freshman year is when I like they contact me again. I went to an ID camp, and then it got serious. But I think that was cool. That was like one of my first like real big SEC schools to contact me, and then I ended up going there. So
Yeah. So do the other schools contact you guys after you've kind of been down the process a little ways with the two schools that you ended up selecting? And were there other teams that came calling, so to speak?
I feel
yeah,
like, yeah, but not, especially since, like, I think you committed sophomore year too, maybe freshman year even, do.
yeah, I committed freshman year, but
When you commit
I went
that,
on like a
like,
bunch of visits. My parents like made me go on as many visits as I could just to like make sure. I went to, I think I went to Pitt, Tennessee, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech.
but that's before you committed, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
on visits.
But I think just
Let me
committing
see.
that early, like, a lot of schools won't necessarily know that you're, like, committed. Because it's
Yeah,
not, I think there is a database, but it's also verbal, so it's not like you aren't signing anything until you're a senior. So it's like they technically could try to recruit you, but I think also like coaches all know each other, and like it kind of slows down once people like hear that you're committed.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you both went to the schools, and what made you comfortable in, the school itself, not just the soccer program? Brianna, like when you went to South Carolina, what
Yeah.
made you realize that not only was the campus the right fit for you, but the culture of the team and the coaches and all the other things that matter when you're making those decisions?
Yeah, I think it was the culture that really stood out to me. And like, so my coaches are, it's a head coach and like we call him another head coach, basically. They're husband and wife. So it's like, I say it's like a family, which every school says they have a family, but like, they're like our parents, we say, because they're married and like, it's like a real family. But I went on a visit, I think it was like my fourth time visiting, just to like, I needed to make sure wanted to go there, and I got to sit into the locker room with the team before a game and like go on the field before the game. And in the locker room, it was just like I just felt like the culture was there, and it was so cool sitting there, like listening to all their music and like seeing how they prepare for a game, like a big top 10 game. And like I was like, that's where I want to go and be. So it was like just being with the team and like them interacting with me.
Yeah. And Sophie, so completely different campus Georgetown is than South Carolina, right? I mean, it's not an SEC school. There's football at Georgetown? There's not,
Yeah,
is
there
there?
is, but it's not great.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not playing Florida and Georgia.
Right.
And so, I mean, obviously a way different culture. It's an urban setting. What kind of clicked for you when you were making that choice, and why did you decide to go to Georgetown rather than anywhere else at that point?
Um, I do like the city school aspect, but it also is very much a campus. Like you don't feel like you're in the middle of the city when you're like on the campus. And then also, I think part of it was that I didn't want to go like to the same schools that everyone I know is going to. Like one school that I was being recruited by a lot was Virginia Tech, and like I wanted to do something different. And like while it's not like that far away, it's like a completely different like vibe than being at like a Virginia State school or something like that. And then the year I was like really being recruited, they went to the Final Four, and so it was just so cool to see like players that I'd met when I was visiting that I knew as like super like fun, like nice people, and then see like how serious they are on the field and how good they are like you don't even like recognize people on and off the field. And I was like, I would just want to be a part of something that's like that, like fun to be around, but also like so professional and like has the potential to go that far in a tournament.
Okay. And like the best academics you can get.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, academics are really important to me too.
yeah. Not that South Carolina isn't, but South Carolina is in
I
Georgetown.
get it. I've gotten that before, don't worry.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So, I mean, so talk about like, you knew really early. I mean, as far as like where you were in your maturity and making this decision like that, and then, you know, did you have any second thoughts, or did you, I don't know, like you're sophomores in high school and you're not even really driving yet probably, and you're committing to something that is going to, that decision is the biggest decision you made in your life so far. I mean, what were kind of your thoughts as you went through those 2 or 3 years that you had left before you went to school, and how did you prepare to go to school, go play college soccer and all that stuff? Sofie, go first.
I honestly was never like, I don't know if that was like partially, it probably was a little bit like delusional, but like I never had any like second thoughts really. I feel like it was more people around you that could. Like I remember, I don't remember what class I was in. It was some AP class, and like they made me sign up for the AP test even though Georgetown doesn't take that class. And I was like, no, I already know where I'm going. And they're like, no, you don't. Like you're a junior. You don't like. What are you talking about? You don't know where you're going. I'm like, yes, I do. Like, why are you not taking this seriously? So I literally took an AP test that like there was no way it could have given me any credit, and I had to pay like $100 to take it or something. But like, so it's just like I always felt pretty confident about it. I think the thing that I was most afraid of was the actual soccer like level adjustment. Like I didn't like legacy by the time I was like a junior, like the level wasn't that high. Like a lot of people were committed, but some people weren't. And I feel like once you hit that age, like people, not that they stop caring, but like it becomes like less of a priority for some people. And I knew that like the level jump was going to be huge. And I feel like I started to get more scared about that like later on. But like it's an adjustment for everyone. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Grant?
I never had second thoughts about committing, except yeah, I guess I was very young. Like my mom, I thought about it like my mom still made my lunch, and I was making a decision about college soccer. Like that's weird, but I think it was like my family as a whole, like honestly made the decision because I went and visited. My top two were Tennessee and South Carolina, and I went to both schools like 4 times, like I said, and because my dad like wanted me to make sure. And when I decided on South Carolina, I like knew I was set and like 100% in, and wasn't gonna go back ever. And I'm glad I never did. But leading up to going to school, I guess like being in such a small town, it's like you have such a big head like about like, oh, you're committed. Like there's only a few of us in the whole town like going to big schools like that. But I think we all did a good job to like train together. Like me and Sofie been training
yeah.
together for like however long I can remember, and we would go out there after school or like all summer long we'd be training and running with Johnny. So that really helped being in it together rather than alone, which is good. But I think I was most afraid of like the soccer aspect and like fitness.
Yeah,
I feel like I never did like fitness in my life or
No.
like running and like fitness tests. So I was like really nervous about that, but it's not as hard as you think it would be. It's all mental.
Yeah, what were some of the conversations that you two were having with each other as you were probably out there at the War Hill turf fields, kicking soccer balls and just thinking about what was to come?
I think it was always like, will we ever play each other? Like, you think we're gonna play each other?
And then we
Yeah.
did play each other, and we
We
subbed
did
in
play,
together.
yeah.
Like
Subbed
both
in the
of our
same
teams.
time. I was defending her. I remember laughing on the field.
I was
Like,
laughing while we
this
were on the
isn't real
sideline
life.
waiting to sub in together. And like I could hear your parents when I went in, like yelling for me too.
So you
Yeah.
guys were literally at the like checking in at
Yeah,
the same time.
side by side,
Yeah.
check in. And it was also like I think it was just the two of us. Like our coach just hadn't put anyone else in.
Yeah. And it was like 0-0, so like I couldn't say
Like
hi, and I was like, this is serious, like I can't look at you.
round of 32
I knew I would
NCAA.
laugh.
So like, how did that go?
Well,
Well, we
they beat
won.
us. But
Yeah.
but it was fun. I was laughing on the field defending.
Yeah.
I think at one point you had the ball like the back to me, and I like had my hand in your back, and I just like was laughing like on the field.
I feel like it's also like almost like distracting to play, even if you're off. Like if you were to be in when I'm off, I'm like want to watch you. But I'm like I need to watch
Yeah.
this whole game. Like I can't just be like, oh, is Brie like getting back right now? Like
Like
speed
make that
up,
recovery,
you gotta
ring
get
girl.
back.
Yeah. So there's no anybody foul the other.
I don't think so.
No,
No
no,
dirty business going on.
No, we would never.
no.
um. Yeah. So that's kind of a cool story. So you guys played twice.
Just once.
No, just once. Yeah.
I thought I heard twice. Sorry. So yeah. So let's go back to high school still for a minute. You're getting ready, and so Sofie, you're a year older than
Right.
Brianna, but like, what's going on in your head as you're getting closer and closer to time to report? Is it still all about fitness? Are you confident in your level? And then, you know, walk us up to the time that you're, moving your stuff in your dorm basically and getting ready to go train.
For me, I feel like it was different because it was actually COVID when I was a freshman, like going into
Oh yeah.
freshman year. So leading up to the summer of my freshman year, we had like no team practices. Like we hadn't played a game in 6 months because we weren't all allowed to be together. Like I think the most training we got was like us two and probably Augie with Johnny. Like that's all I had leading up. So I was definitely nervous about like speed of play just because I hadn't played like real soccer, I guess. I was just training and agility and fitness leading up to it.
Yeah.
And when I'm here all summer, all we do is run anyways too. So like I guess that would have been like 8-9 months since I played in a real game or like even like small sided 8v8.
Right.
But
Yeah. I'm sure that was tough to figure out soccer again, kind of when you were, just thrown in the mix there. So, yeah. What about you, Sofie?
Yeah, I had 1 year of
Brianna kind of cut you off, but I asked you, but
I could have 1 year of college pre-COVID. So like my freshman year was completely normal until spring. I think it's the like number one biggest thing that's hard is fitness. Like it is like a level that you've never had to be at. Like even if you're playing 90 minutes in a game, you're a lot better than the people around you, and you don't have to work as hard to get a touch off. But like college soccer is at the point where you have to run so much that if you're not fit, you're not going to be able to kick the ball when it gets to you. Like you're not going to get your touch off. Like, and I think it's even if you're at the level where you can like pass the fitness test, once you get there, the first 2 weeks of the playing itself is still going to be hard because like it's a different type of fitness. Like you can prepare like as much as you want, but you're still going to have an adjustment period for like the first couple weeks. And then I think another thing that's hard about your freshman year is that you're gonna go to school way before all your friends do, and it's like your non-soccer friends at home, and it's like I should still have another month of summer, but like I'm gonna go be running around in the heat while they're all like still like having fun, but like you're scared of that freshman year because you don't know how fun it's gonna be when you like get there. So like after that, it's after freshman year, it's like you want to go back, but freshman year you're still scared, so it's like harder to leave early.
right.
and just like watching all your friends go to like graduation parties, you're
Yeah.
missing out on everything your senior year. Like, but it's definitely all worth it.
Yeah. Brianna, you didn't really have. I was at your graduation. You didn't. There wasn't much of a graduation,
Like I
so
walked across the street.
that's true. And I like drove by as Augie was walking across the street. So yeah. Um, so like now put on kind of your mentor hats and talk about, how you would advise, a current eighth, ninth, 10th grader who's starting their process and, you know, they're going to commit. Like, talk about what's important to look for and some of the things that, now and you wish you'd known then, kind of things. Sophie, I guess we'll just let Brianna go first since she just jumps in. Yeah.
Um, I think my biggest thing I would say is watch how the coaches interact with the players, because they could put on a front in front of you, like when you go and visit, and like be like, "Oh, like you're gonna start, you're gonna play," or like this is how we coach. But if you go to a game and you watch them on the sidelines and like they're screaming at a player, is that how you want to be coached on the sidelines? Like, or you go to a game and they're like, they pull a player aside and they're like talking to them and explaining themselves instead of like screaming at them on the field, then that's who you want to play for. So I would say like go to a game, watch your style play, and watch how the coaches like coach, and like watch their body language and how they talk to the players. I think that's big.
Yeah, that is big. What about you, Sophie?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like a coach is literally when they're recruiting you, like they're a salesman. Like they're trying to like that's not even going to be their real personality half the time. Like when you're there, like you're just one of 30 people on the team. Like they don't have to like talk to you all the time or like be your best friend, and like you are just like they've been there what like 10, 15, 20 years, and like they're going to have a new team every year. It's like you're not their number one priority, and that's how they're going to make you feel when you're a recruit. But like the reality is that like you aren't. And like how Brie was saying, like watch how they talk to players is true. And then also something you should look at is like how many players on the team have been there for 4 years. Like how many seniors do they have, and like how many people transfer out, because like there's some schools that have just super high turnover rates of like people transferring in and out, and like that's usually a red flag about the coach, because yeah, sometimes people don't like the school, but usually if you like soccer a lot, you're gonna be like happy at the school. Honestly, it's like such a big part of your life. So like if you see like a lot of people transferring in and out of that school, like there's probably something there. And like also on your visits, I was a lot more upfront about this in my like second recruiting process for my fifth year. Just like asking players like what like I know coaches are gonna yell at you sometimes. That's like any coach is gonna yell at you sometimes, but it's like do you like genuinely like the coach? Like do you feel like really just ask players, and like they should be honest with you. Like it's not their job to recruit you. And
Yeah,
like I was a lot more like I feel like when you're a fresh or like in the recruiting process, like you're scared of college players, but like you shouldn't be. Like they're still just nice girls. Like now I like wasn't scared of them, and I'm asked them like every single question I have. Like
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess having to go through the experience again, you knew probably what you should have asked,
yeah,
way back. And not that I don't think you had a bad experience at
no, I didn't.
Georgetown.
I loved Georgetown and like Georgetown
Yeah,
soccer, but it's like I like part of the reason I transferred was just for like a new experience, like new city, new like place, like and just like academic stuff, different program. But like I was like I honestly think there was a lot of things that I got lucky about at Georgetown, because like I didn't think to ask them, and then I hear people have these horror stories, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Like so like the second time I was like, I need to be careful. I don't end up at a school that's like people hate it there, like because it's not necessarily like there's things I didn't like about Georgetown that I was looking for. It's more like things I'd heard about other schools. I'm like, I really need to avoid like certain places. But if you don't know someone that goes there personally, then it's like you have to be like really forward about finding out information.
yeah. I mean, so what are some of the things, without naming names, guys, that you've heard about other schools that you knew it wasn't going to be a good fit for you? Maybe it's a good fit for other people, right? But what were things that you heard that all steered you away from certain places?
Like I think one thing that you should look for is practice fun. Like you're gonna have to practice. Like practices can either be like your coach running you into the ground and like drilling set pieces and like doing boring things, or it can be like a lot of playing, and like so even if you're not necessarily playing a lot in games, like practice is still fun and like fulfilling like what you like about soccer. So like something like I did ask, I was like, do you like practice? Like, or do you hate being there? Like, because like
Right.
the games are obviously the most important and like the most fun part, but like most of the time you're in practice. So it's like that's one thing I was like looking for.
Yeah.
Mhm. I agree with that. And also just say like just be real with yourself through the recruiting process because there's some people who like they go big and then they have to transfer and like
Yeah.
if you're real with yourself and like actually like think about your recruiting, then you'll end up happier in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys had like really good resources when you were going through the process, right? People who could kind of gauge where you
Right.
should end up, as opposed to kind of the pie in the sky dream school scenario. Um, so talk about, you get to school and, um, what's that like for you guys individually? And then, how did your freshman year go? And then going into your sophomore year, let's kind of take it through that timeline. What the freshman year experience was like. Go ahead, Brianna.
Oof. My freshman year, I think it was probably way different just because, again, COVID.
Yeah.
So, my freshman year, we actually didn't start our season until mid September, which is way different. So, we had preseason for over a month. And usually preseason's only 2 weeks long. So, that was pretty difficult time, which was like hard work and just like a grind to get to the games. And then freshman year is like going into college, you think like, oh, like I'll go in and I'm gonna play. But like freshman year is like eye opening. You don't get in games, you don't play at all, or like you get 5 minutes and you're like, well, how can I be good in 5 minutes? But you just have to make the most of it. So freshman year for me was like eye opening, like, wow, I'm gonna really have to work and like earn my spot, which is like it's good for me and it's real world stuff. So I think that was like what I got out of freshman year the most is like I'll have to work for what I'm gonna do at this program. And that's why I chose South Carolina. I didn't want to have it easy. I just wanted to play with the best and have to work for it.
Yeah, Sophie, what was that like for you? Like big fish to,
Yeah.
little pond to big fish in a big pond,
Yeah. My freshman year, the girl playing in my spot, like center forward, was a fifth year. So like I know like I didn't have the expectation that I was gonna come in and beat her out, so it wasn't like I wasn't expecting to start like at all. But it was like I definitely was expecting to play, which I did after like the first 3 games. I ended up playing like every game the rest of the season and like pretty decent minutes, like maybe like 30 to 45 minutes a game, which is like pretty solid. But like the first couple games, I think I just still hadn't fully adjusted to the speed of play. And also the way Georgetown does our schedule, since we play in the Big East, we're like pretty dominant in the Big East, and like I'd say like half the schools in the Big East aren't that great in terms of like RPI and like getting you points that you need if you want to get like an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, because only one team gets like the automatic from winning the like conference tournament. So we front load our season with like really hard like high RPI games. So it was like UVA, Duke, like that's how we start off. So it's like if you're not ready to go, then he's not putting you into those games because you're like gonna get squashed by like these Final Four caliber teams. And my first game that I got subbed into was at Duke, and he told me to like go to the line, like warm up when there's maybe like 10 minutes left in the game, and I get up to the line, there's like 8 minutes left in the game, and the ball like literally doesn't go out for me to sub in until there's like 30 seconds left, and I looked at my coach and I was like, should I still go in? And he's like, yeah. I was like, it was literally so embarrassing. Like my college debut was like 15 seconds. Like on the thing when it says how many minutes I played, it says I went in but played 0 minutes. It's like I'm like, but I'm still like at that point, I was just like, okay, like he's thinking of putting me in, so like at least like still felt like a win. And then after that, I did like play real minutes, but I was like, But like you get to the point where you're like, okay, like I have a chance, like still counting as a chance. Like I don't know. I just think that was funny. And then my sophomore year was the COVID year, and Georgetown, like as a university, is a lot stricter than like a school in the South, like South Carolina. Like so, we didn't go back at all in the fall. Like the entire fall, no one was allowed back, and then in the spring, it was only athletes allowed back. And so we didn't train a single time all fall until we got there in the spring. So it was like Bree said, the beginning was just a lot of like they're not going to put you into like full 11v11 right away when you haven't played in like 9 months. It's just not safe. So like we did end up doing like a lot more running and like technical work, which is boring and like, but it does all end up being worth it once you like actually get things.
Yeah. Talk about that first time you guys felt like the different level and the different speed of the game, and what went through your head.
Like literally the first. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Like first practice, I was like, oh shit, like gotta get the ball and I gotta give it to someone
Yeah,
else
like I gotta
because
get rid of it just so I
I'm gonna
don't
get
get like
crushed.
yeah. Even in
Yeah.
like technical, something that's like really different about college soccer is just like literally how hard you have to kick the ball. Like every pass you have to hit it with, like firmly with pace. Like so like we do a lot of like technical work at Georgetown. Like every practice starts with like a passing pattern, and like freshmen on the first day are like everyone's yelling at you the entire time because you're kicking the ball so slow because like you just don't. It doesn't feel like natural to kick every single pass basically like as hard as you can. And like I like so distinctly remember getting yelled at by everyone.
I also think a big thing was like using both your feet, like
Yeah, no one cares
especially
if it's
here,
on
we
your
were
left
just like
foot.
if it was like a passing pattern, it was like right foot, left foot, and you did right, like and
Yeah.
you're done. Like you have to use right left or left right. It's like you had to use both feet.
Were you guys thinking in those terms when you were, those years in high school when you were training together? Oh, okay, let's do things that develop both feet.
I think we definitely would, but it's like in a game situation or like I guess in a practice situation.
It wasn't as stressful like
It's also not as
environment
like
too when we were
strict.
doing it.
Yeah. It's like if
Yeah.
you were to do something wrong,
Like it
it's
was
not
Johnny.
a big
Like
deal.
Johnny, sorry, like
Yeah. Like
bad.
if he yells at me, I'm gonna start laughing. Like it's not like
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about kind of what was going on in between your guys' years when you're starting off and, you're not factoring in right away. How did you handle maybe a little dip in confidence? How did you just handle, emotionally not being the best anymore?
I think that's like number one for me, major thing about college, like D1 soccer is confidence. Like if you don't have confidence, you're not going to be able to play.
yeah.
Like I think that was a big thing for me. Like leading up to my junior year, like I just felt like I had no confidence. Like I knew I was a good player. I knew I could be out there. I knew they recruited me for a reason, but I just had like no confidence in myself. And then I don't know what it was. Like my coaches still ask me to this day, like, what was it that clicked in your head? And like ever since it clicked, like I believed in myself, and I since then have been doing great. And so confidence is definitely, I think, maybe the number one key in college
So
soccer.
what did click in your head? Have you figured that out?
Yeah. So
Well, hold on a sec. Hold on.
okay.
So like what was going on and then like what was your performance until something clicked, and then what made it click, and then how was your performance after that?
So when I'm on the field before this, it was more like, don't lose the ball. If you lose the ball, you're gonna get yelled at. It's like fear. You're playing in fear rather than you're playing with like you have freedom and you can do whatever you want. So when I think I hadn't played maybe 2 games leading up to the Arkansas game a few years, maybe 2 years ago, last year, and at halftime we were like our team wasn't doing well, like we were down, and they at halftime they're like, all right, Brie, like you're going in the middle, and like immediately something clicked, and I told myself, like I whispered to myself in my head, like you are the greatest player, like you are so good and you're here and they're picking you for a reason. And I went out and I played the whole half, and I started since then. And it was just like, and they asked me that moment, they're like, we hadn't played you, like, what clicked? We need to know. And I was like, I can't tell you. It was just like myself. And it was kind of just like, fuck this mentality. Like, I'm going out there and I'm going to be the best player.
Awesome. I mean, that's a great story. Sofie, how did you deal with the highs and lows of starting out?
I think for me, something like at Georgetown, I played like any range of like minutes. Like there's games I started and there's games I didn't play at all. Like, and it was never really for me like a trajectory like this. Like it was constantly like not constantly like this within a season, but like I mean I always really played, but like sometimes it would be like 10 minutes in a game because like Georgetown we just had so much depth that it's like if somebody's having a better week than you, like they're going to play more than you, and sometimes you just have to accept that it's not because you're doing bad, it's just because they're doing better, and it's like sometimes you're going to be doing better, and like I could be starting in a game or two, but like shutting down is not what's going to get you there. Like you have to accept if somebody's playing over you, it's not necessarily because you are doing something bad, and like just keep like doing what you're like doing your best, and like your opportunity could come at a different time, and you just have to be like ready for that.
Yeah. Do you guys at those places, South Carolina, Georgetown, did they have resources for you guys like mental health type things, sports psychologist? How prominent was that? Were you guys encouraged to use those resources? And did you?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
team, like psychologist, like sports psychologists that like stays in the office like right across from our field in our building, which is a lot of people use her. Like she's great. She has meetings with like the whole team like every month, which is great, but and we also have mental health like people. I never use them. I use my parents, but
Yeah, I
I know
meant more.
people can use.
That's not anybody's business if you've used,
Yeah.
but no, I just meant from more like a sport psychologist or, dealing with confidence and
Yeah,
that
we have
sort of.
performance people that help
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Sofie, you guys had the same type
Yeah, we
thing?
had like one sports psychologist that I think was for like all athletic, but we would do like once a season like a workshop about confidence and stuff. But like kind of related, so like here at Northeastern, there is people that you can like schedule with, and like in the beginning of the year, my coach was talking, and she was like, if you aren't confident enough to like take a shot, like schedule a meeting. I like you have to act like it's your like part of your body. Like she's like that's not like being unconfident isn't an excuse. Like if you're not confident, then go fix it. Like basically, which I think is like a good like attitude to like treating your brain as just like part of your game and like it's your responsibility to be confident. Like it's not somebody else's responsibility to tell you to it's
Right.
basically just like if you don't feel confident, like schedule an appointment. Like people can help you and like you need to fix it. Like, it's not just something you can like use as an excuse for playing.
Yeah.
I also don't think people realize like confidence comes from within yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna go searching for confidence and find it from someone. Like it has to be from yourself.
Yeah. But I'm sure that you guys also had like support from your teammates. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
you definitely like they weren't like jerks to you or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
so
everyone's
talk.
competitive on the field, but off the field, everyone's family.
Yeah, talk about kind of that culture, and but you guys both stayed for
Mhm.
4 years. It wasn't miserable. So talk about how they helped you when you were young, and then how you guys helped younger players when they were first starting out. Sofie.
Well, yeah, I think there's like a huge difference between how people like talk to you on the field and how people talk to you off the field. Like you just have to have like a like sense of like professionalism, I guess, that like you can separate that and like accept that like they're all just trying to help you and you all have the same goal. And then also I think like when you're on a team with 30 people, like there's gonna be there's bound to be someone that's like felt the same way you're feeling, and like it's really good to like lean on each other because like only 11 people are playing, so like if you're upset about playing time, there's like 20 other people that are also upset about it, and like you can all like bond. Like I always said, like being on the bench, like the best jokes ever like happen on the bench. The bench is the funniest place. And like so when you're not in, like it's good to like obviously be friends with everyone else because you're still hanging out all the time even if you're not playing.
Yeah. Brianna, got anything to add there?
I think going off that is like there's so many people on the team, and like for our culture, it was just like everyone's different, and the way like you talk to people on the field and off the field should be different for every individual. Like whether they can handle like you screaming at them like "let's go" or like how you talk to them like positively or in a negatively way. Like everyone handles it different. So our program really like harps on like every individual should be like to their needs. Like you talk to them to how they would need you to talk to them. It's like I would talk to Sofie differently
Yeah.
on the field than I would to whoever, Augie on the field.
Right. Probably. Yeah. So I was thinking about something when you were talking about being on the bench. Like, I think there's like some dangerous ways to think, and then there's some ways that are really, really, um, I don't know, like more helpful than just. I guess it's the difference between being positive and negative, right? So talk about the way your mindset while you were not starting or not playing, and how you kept yourself in a positive mind frame. And I'm sure that there were times where maybe you weren't in the best mindset, and how you talked your way through that.
I think
Either one of you.
something is
Go
just
ahead,
like
sir.
knowing that it's not permanent. Like sometimes you can be like I've barely played this last like 3 games, like this sucks. Like but like it's never like a permanent situation. Like anything could happen. Like someone could get hurt and you could go in and like literally the next minute. Like you just have to like not think that you're stuck there because it's not like you're permanently benched ever. Like
I would also say don't blame other people.
yeah.
Like a lot of people go through and they're like, well, the coaches are like making the wrong decision. Like the coaches only want the best for the team, so they're going to put the better player in. So if you think like it's not your fault, then it's not going to help yourself, and you're just going to be negative like all around. And when you're negative, it rubs off on everyone around you. So then you're going to look like the worst person than you are.
Right. Yeah, I mean, talk about maybe the times that negativity, maybe not with just you, or maybe you've noticed it in other people, and how it affected them, and the way they played, and I'm sure that it potentially could have an impact on their playing time. Um, Sofie, have you observed that in other people, or even yourself, like just taking too big of a turn to negative town, and just the impact that you've seen or felt?
I think you can definitely tell when someone's like you can immediately tell when someone's feeling like negative when if they get subbed in for like say like the last 3 minutes and they're like pissed they're like gonna go play for 3 minutes, like what's the point of that? And like it's obvious in like someone's body language how they're feeling, and like your coach isn't gonna put you in for those 3 minutes again if you like look negative when you're going in, and like that 3 minutes could turn into like 10 because you did something really good or like worked really hard for those 3 minutes, and it's like I think it's just everything you're thinking in your head is like very obvious in your body language, and like you need to remember that because coaches actually care about it.
Yeah. Brianna, you got anything to add there?
Yeah, I just think it's body language and like your attitude all around. Like when you talk to your coaches, when you talk to your teammates, like everyone around you will notice if you're negative.
Yeah. Yeah, Cheese and I had on a guy who played for the national team and for Watford in the Premier League, a guy named Jay Demerit, and something that stuck with me was like he said, "Don't take it like I never took anything personally.
Yeah.
Like you you didn't get picked up for team after team in England, but you just like I didn't deserve it yet. It's not that he didn't deserve it; he just didn't deserve it yet. And so like that kind of stuck with me, is to not let it cross over into the personal aspect of things. So you guys have any good, stories, from being out on the road and playing in big time soccer games against Duke and Carolina, and you know, you guys went to storied programs that do a lot of winning. So, what's some good stories that kids may not get when they're on a recruiting trip or something like that? And do keep in mind that there are kids that are listening to this. Okay.
I'm trying to think of
I'm putting you on the spot, kind of.
Stories of like just like randoms,
I
like
mean,
any.
just like good like stories with your teammates. Winning a big game, or you know, that kind of thing. Like things that are good team bonding moments.
Yeah, I have one from the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. We played UNC, the number one seed, and we were not ranked seed. And we went there on a Thursday, and we were playing Friday. And it was one of my best friend's birthday, Ryan Garrett. She actually plays for Houston Dash now. And her mom brought a big chocolate cake in on a Thursday night, and we were playing UNC on Friday. And our coach came and was like, do not eat that. Like, no one should be touching that. And for some reason, I think there was something going on in the lobby where he was like in the lobby, and we all went into the meeting room and locked the doors and ate the cake. And we ended up winning. So now, like, the running joke is like, we need chocolate cake before a big game, which is funny because we play UNC on Thursday, so maybe we'll have cake on Wednesday.
So Wednesday there needs to be a big chocolate cake. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was funny because we were like, no, we're eating that cake. Like, she brought it all the way from Chicago. We're eating it, even though we play the number one seed in the morning.
Yeah. And what happened? So you guys won.
He was like pissed that we ate it, and then we won. We were like, it was a chocolate cake. It was a chocolate cake.
Yeah. So at what point did he find out that you guys ate it?
It was, I think he tried to get into the meeting room and it was locked, and he knew, like, they're eating the cake.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he like bang on the door, or was he just like, I can't stop him now?
Yeah, it was just like tugging on the door and just like, well.
That's funny. Sofie, you got any good stories
not like
to
a
share?
specific story came to mind after that, but like for at Georgetown every 4 years we do an international trip. So like this year, like, and they take seniors too, even if you like are done technically. So this year we went to Italy, and we played 3 professional teams while we were there, and like it's not serious. Like, these are scrimmages. It's just for fun, like, to get the experience of, like, playing a pro team. And, like, we would literally go from, like, eating gelato on the side of the road. They'd be like, get on the bus. And we'd go drive, like, 15 minutes and, like, warm up for, like, 10 minutes and play a game. So it was, like, it was just, like, fun to have, like, soccer be so, like, silly and, like, I don't know, like, you're just in a foreign country, like, with your friends, and you're just stuffed full of gelato playing soccer. Like, it's just funny. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so when did you guys experience like soccer not being fun? I guess it's always probably fun, but like, it becomes a bit of a job, and you're so committed, especially at the levels that you guys play at. Like, it's full time, right? I mean, so just like you're talking about, laughing with your teammates, eating gelato and eating chocolate cake. I mean, but like, has there been a point where you're like, this is a lot?
yeah, I think the spring is really hard because you don't have games, so it's like less easy to be like, and you're still running and lifting a ton and like playing. You are playing, but like you're not playing real games, so it's hard to be like, me doing sprints right now is matters because I'm gonna go like play next week. Like, no, like you have to like really just like remember that it's like a long process, but like in the spring it can definitely get like tough to like motivate yourself.
Yeah. Bray?
I think it's always like felt like it's your job, just because for us, I feel like we're always at the soccer building. Like,
Yeah,
I think I'm at the soccer building more than I'm in a classroom.
definitely.
I feel like we live there, especially in season. Like, we're traveling, we're getting there in the morning, we're training, we're leaving from there. You're coming back to the soccer building at like 2 a.m. Like, you're always there. There's everything there. Like, we study there,
Mm-hmm.
we eat most meals around there. So it's definitely like a job, but it's a fun job.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sofie, you transferred. Um, Walk us through that process and how things are going at Northeastern. And
Bree's laughing because I
yeah,
tore my ACL last week.
you did? Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's new.
Ah,
I know. I was wondering when
sorry.
it would come up. Well, basically, I never got hurt before this, so like I didn't have a red shirt without COVID, and so like the second I remember the moment they like announced that everyone got red shirts from COVID because like we still played a spring season, so like and I remember being like so excited. I'm like, oh, I get an extra like free year of college soccer like without getting hurt. Like this is the best thing ever. And like so I always knew like from that moment that I was probably gonna like take it, but it is a lot to like be at one school for 4 years and then like think about doing it all over again, and like especially like the role I was in was like I was playing, but like it was never like nothing was ever like guaranteed, and like that is like mentally tough to like, not that it's not worth it, but like I wanted like a new experience, so I wanted to go one to like a new place, so like and I liked this being in a city school, so I like knew I wanted to be in the city, and then I was like, well, I can't go from like Georgetown to somewhere that's like super easy, so I was like, I need to find a good school too, like, and Northeastern just kind of checked all the boxes of like being good soccer level. We're normally around like 50 in the RPI, like top like towards the top, but not like not something like an ACC school where it's like I'm gonna have to like constantly be like worried about my like spot. Not that you like anything's guaranteed or anything, but it's just like a little bit easier than Georgetown, and then still really good school, like great coaches. Like I don't know, I just wanted something new, but like to not lose any of the good things about that I liked about Georgetown. And then I was actually thinking like, so I played the first 4 games and like was doing really well, and then in the fourth game I had already scored. And I'm like, okay, like, and then I get played the ball like towards the top of the 18 and I shot it, and like when I stepped down after that shot, that's when my ACL tore, and it like went off the keeper's hands, and then somebody else scored on it, so like technically it was an assist. It went down as an assist, but it tore my ACL. And so like since it was a goal, like everybody's like screaming. Like the girl that scored it ended up getting hurt too because she like rolled her ankle on the play. So like we're both laying on the ground, like everyone's cheering, like no one knows what's going on. Like it's just like a very chaotic
Right.
moment. But right before that, I had remembered thinking like, wow, it's like I like am loving it here so much, and like the soccer is so fun, and like it sucks that I only get to do this for 3 months, and then so I am gonna take a 6th year, and so it's like I was only supposed to ever have 4, and now I get 6. So I'm just trying to look at it like positively, like it's an
Yeah.
extra year of like playing soccer rather than like going for a run or getting a job.
So, all right. So that's a great, way to look at something. I mean, that is pretty awful, right? Um, so when is surgery, and you haven't had it yet, right?
So like mine was also really weird because it wasn't that bad. Like it never swelled at all, and I have full range of motion, which is really rare. So like they thought it wasn't torn. Like so like for a few days like I didn't think anything was like actually like that wrong with it. So while it did end up being torn, like that does matter because I can get surgery a lot quicker, and it's like typically like better signs for like recovery afterwards. So my surgery is in 2 weeks, and then after that it's 9 months like to full play. But it was like it's like I don't know, like I feel like I'm gonna know more about like how I'm feeling like after the surgery, because right now I'm still like fully functional. Like I'm doing like bike workouts, like I can walk on it, like so it just kind of like still doesn't feel like that real because I'm like not, I don't feel injured, but it's like I know I am.
Right.
And
So it'll actually get worse before it gets
yeah.
better. Man. Well, I'm glad you have the opportunity to have another year. You're going to be like a physician by the time school to when you graduate. Um, that's cool. Wow. So, all right. So, yeah, I'm really sorry. Yeah, that's terrible. And good. I mean, it's gonna. I don't know. You have the right attitude. It sounds like, and it'll probably create some opportunities for you that you wouldn't have seen.
It
So,
helped that my program was like 2 years anyway, so like I would have been here next year anyway. So it's like, why would I not play if I'm like gonna?
yeah,
I'm gonna have to rehab it
yeah,
either way, and like it was like really nice though. Like the day after it happened, my coach came up to me and was like, "So we already talked to compliance, and like we cleared everything. Like everything's renewed. Like if you don't like obviously like 6 years of college soccer is a lot." She's like, "But it's all ready to go. Like if you're gonna come back." And I was like, "Okay,
right.
I'll come back."
That's fantastic. Well, that's good. So yeah, sounds like Brianna, you'll have some decisions to make at the end of this year too.
Yeah.
Because you have a COVID year. So we'll stay tuned to see what you decide to do.
I'll be playing soccer.
Somewhere, someplace, yeah. Well, cool. What else do you guys want to share? Anything else before we wrap it up?
Mm, I don't know.
No.
All right. Well, I really appreciate it, and good luck to both of you for different reasons. But um, Brianna, I hope you guys beat UNC and that the chocolate cake is good this week.
Yep.
So we'll all be watching. Sofie, best of luck to you. I know it's going to feel like a long road, but you'll handle it like a champ, I'm sure.
Thank you.
So yeah. You guys, nothing else?
I think I'm all good.
Good.
No wisdom to impart to the youngsters out there?
Make sure you love soccer.
That's true. Very true. All right. Hold on. All right, I stopped it. Although it's still, I don't know. I hit stop, but it's still running.